Happy Thursday. Hopefully everyone's having an awesome day. It's the Thursday before Christmas, and I got a 4-day weekend from work, which means I don't know if I'm going to be doing a video tomorrow or Monday. I haven't really decided. Depends on how lazy I am or not lazy. So, Merry Christmas if I don't make a video tomorrow. With that being said, we're going to talk about the omnibus spending. I have issues with the omnibus spending. They do one every year because they can't seem to figure out how to manage. Um, Seems like the Fox News is not letting me read it. I don't know what's going on here. Let's see here. Keeps on going dark on me. And I think it's the ad blocker I have installed. Ah, there we go. Excellent. So, from Fox News, Senate passes 1.7 trillion spending with the bill with the help from Republicans. The mammoth bill keeps the government funded until the end of September 2023, which means the incoming House representatives won't have much of a say on spending until after 2023. So pretty much nerfs their ability to rein in spending. There may be something they could do to amend it. It's pretty much law, don't get me wrong. This omnibus bill spending is pretty much in law. It's now going to the House, which they're probably going to rubber stamp because the Democrats have a passing majority to pass it. The Senate on Thursday approved the 1.7 trillion spending bills that will help far more than a dozen, with help more than a dozen Republican lawmakers over the fight over immigration policy nearly derailed the legislation. We should be protecting our borders. We shouldn't be protecting the Ukraine-Russian border. We shouldn't be protecting any other borders except for our southern and northern borders. In a 68 to 29 vote, the Senate passed a bill provided $858 billion for defense and $787 billion for non-defense domestic programs and nearly $45 billion for military humanitarian aid to Ukraine. When they talk about NATO aggression, they're talking about this. They're talking about funding non-NATO members' military efforts. We did this in Afghanistan. We're doing it to Ukraine. More than a 4,000-page bill funds the government for the rest of the fiscal year, including more than 7,200 earmarked, totaling more than $15 billion. Can I get a couple million? That's all I'm asking for is a couple million. The Senate sends the bill to the House, where Speaker Nancy Pelosi is expected to vote as early as Thursday evening, allowing lawmakers to depart for Christmas holiday. The bill is so important, it must be done. It'll be good for families, veterans, and national security, even health of our democratic institution, the Senator Majority crying Chuck Schumer said. Although the majority of the vote was needed, a handful of Republicans voted with nearly every single Democrat passed the bill. Republican support was slightly lower than 21. The GOP vote measures garnered earlier this week, so overcoming the Senate's 60-vote filibuster threshold. While both parties negotiated on the spending bill in Senate, it generated significant opposition from Republicans. Several Senate Republicans even mounted a last-minute push to block the measure in what led up to the final vote, arguing that the GOP-controlled House could exact larger concessions from President Biden come January. Republicans sought to amend the bill in ways that the Democrat would say would make it impossible to pass the House. I mean, it's all political theater at this point. Senate Republicans should instead support the short-term spending bill, allow for new Congress with the incoming Republican House to start spending the process over again in January said Mike Lee. But the issue is that the Republicans play this game, the Democrats play this game. Whoever's in the minority would want to postpone bills or appointees until the next um, party takes over in the following year. The perfect example is when I think it was Lindsey Graham or Mitch McConnell was Speaker of the Senate, blocked Marlon Garland from coming to the Supreme Court to allow Donald Trump to appoint his person. Following the death of Ruth Ginsburg, they spearheaded to get Amy Benedict or some whatever her name is, to the Supreme Court, being kind of a little hypocritical. That's just my opinion. I mean, both parties play this game. Late Wednesday, the bill was almost derailed by a Republican push to add immigration language in exchange for agreeing to speed up the vote process. Lee wanted to vote to maintain the Trump-era immigration policy in place that has prevented millions of immigrants from entering the U.S. But has it really? That so-called Title 42 policy, which has been invoked during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, allowed immigration to curtail for public health reasons. How about we don't want them? Lee and the GOP senators hope for a simple majority vote. An amendment to keep Title 42 in place would win the support enough red state Democrats to pass. Lee demanded a freeze on the Senate for several hours, and he accused the Democrats of dodging the issue because the measure might easily pass. With the popular of some of the moderate Democrats, the Title 42 is widely opposed by progressives in the House and would likely have tanked the bill, which would have been a good thing in my opinion. By Thursday morning, Schumer agreed to give Lee his vote, but also set up a vote on the amendment in the Arizona Independent. Senator Kristen Sinema would have kept Title 42 in place and increasing funding for immigration enforcement and processing. The Senate rejects Sinema's amendment, which would require 60 votes for passage, but Sinema's language allowed the moderate Democrat facing tough re-election challenges in 2024, like Schumer and Montana Senator John Tesler, to vote for keeping Title 42 in place while opposing Lee amendments, which failed due to lack of Democratic support. This was a runabout designed by Schumer to protect the budget without putting vulnerable senators out on a limb, said Democratic aide. Everyone won except Mike Lee. The Senate also brushed off argument from Senator Rand Paul that the giant spending bill ignores the Senate rules amid making sure that new spending is paid with spending cuts. But when forced by Paul to confront the issue, the Senate voted 65-31 in favor of waiving the Senate budget rules, which means the GOP has some explaining to do. I mean, we already know that they're American last. Let's see. We're just going to go to this tweet that I put together. It seems like 18 rhinos on the American last. Actually, let me click on you. Seems like 18 rhinos are American last GOP scum. They only care about war on other nations' borders and not their own. The GOP is done for without American first leaders. The people that voted for this was Blunt, Boozman, Capito, Collins, Cornyn. He is from Texas. He's probably not going to run again. And if he does run, he's probably going to get primaried. Cotton, which surprised me. Graham, Inhofe, McConnell, Moran, Molesky, Portman, Romney. That doesn't surprise me. Rounds, Shelby, Thune, Wicker, and Young. And the three Republicans who were not present were Bacelow, Burr, and Kramer. So it looks like we're going to need to do a grassroots effort to replace these GOP American last senators because they just stabbed us in the back. We expect this from the Democrats, don't get me wrong. And honestly, I kind of expected this bill to pass, especially with the Zelensky making his appearance on the Senate to make a Senate for a plea for his country, which I don't blame him for. But I guess he was able to sway the war hawks in the GOP that Russia with war is a good thing, even if it's through proxy through Ukraine. Now, with that being said, that is my video. Hopefully, we could fix the GOP. If not, I think it's time for a third party to rise and take on both the Democrats and the GOP because they do not represent the interests of Americans. Seems like both parties are American last, and something needs to change. And I don't know what is it going to take to bring on a third party win. I mean, I prefer like no party win, but I'll take a third party win if it means saving America. With that being said, that is my video. Leave a comment down below on what your thoughts are. Be interested to see. Did anyone read the 40K page bill? Because I didn't. And even if I did read it, I want to understand most of it because most of it's written in a language that I don't understand. It's English. Don't get me wrong, it's English. I can read individual words, but when you string them together, they make no sense because it's legalese. Really, leave a comment down below and have yourself a wonderful Christmas. Have a Merry Christmas if I don't make a video tomorrow.